This morning's Breakfast Bible Bite continues with Psalm 78 and verses 14 through 16, where we find metaphoric pictures of Christ as that rock, the rock of provision, protection, and of our salvation. Verse 14 of 78 reads, "Then he led them with a cloud by day, and all the night with a light of a fire." We get more details in Exodus 13:21 through 22. The Lord went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud to lead them on their way during the day, and in a pillar of fire to give them light at night, so that they could travel day or night. The pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night never left its place in front of the people. Who better to understand the natural born mind of mankind than our Creator? He knows the fluidity of our faith coupled with the weakness of our flesh. So that this vacillating Hebrew people, to these people, he made known his continual presence in the form of a cloud by day and a fire by night. Both the cloud and fire met their spiritual needs as a light and a guide. But more than that, the cloud and fire also met the needs of their flesh. The fire for reassurance and visibility in the strange land, and the cloud brought comfort from the searing heat of the desert burning sands. Verse 15 and 16 reads, "He split the rocks in the wilderness and gave them abundant drink like the ocean's depths. He brought forth streams also from the rock and caused water to run down like rivers." Because the psalmist was looking back upon the mighty works of God, he used the term streams in the wilderness accurately. For there are two occasions during Israel's 40 years of wilderness wandering where God provided water from a rock. The first is listed in Exodus 17:6. It was at Mount Horeb at the beginning of their journey, and the second in the wilderness of Zin, and is found in Numbers 20 and verse 11. Reading, "Then Moses raised his hand and struck the rock twice with his staff, so that a great amount of water gushed out, and the community and their livestock drank." The Apostle Paul addresses these miraculous actions of God in 1 Corinthians 10:1 through 6, but gives us this spiritual understanding as God was busy painting a word picture for us in our own day. "Now I want you to know, brothers, that our fathers were all under the cloud, all passed through the sea, and all were baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea. They all ate and drank the same spiritual food, and all drank the same spiritual drink. For they drank from a spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. But God was not pleased with most of them, for they were struck down in the wilderness. Now these things became examples for us, so that we will not desire evil things as they did." The two rocks, like manna, were portraits of Jesus, who is the bread of life, as well as the rock of our strength, duration, shelter, and protection. He is the water of the Word that cleanses us from the stain of sin. John Gill writes, "Christ is called the rock of Israel, the rock of offense to both houses of Israel, the rock of salvation, the rock of refuge, the rock of strength, the rock that is higher than the saints, and on which the church is built." And who is the shadow of the great rock in a weary land? The water that was brought forth from the rock was not simply a trickle, rather a steady stream that became like a river, reminding the rebellious grumblers of God's continuous presence.